Hey, what's up guys? James and Cuervo from Junkyard Fox here, and we are relaxing in my front porch. It is just way too hot to be filming in the desert right now. We are hitting over 100 degrees out there, plus it's our monsoon season, or it's supposed to be. So we have a ton of cloud cover, which makes just a lot more humidity, but we're not getting any rain. So we're just the worst of both worlds. So today we decided to just relax in my front porch, drink a couple of cold ones, and we're going to be answering your questions. A few weeks ago, you asked us some really great questions, so we're going to be answering them. We'll answer about 13 of them. So thank you for joining us. Pull up a chair, get yourself a drink, and let's get to it. Okay, so question number 1 comes from Steve Fowler. He asks, what would be your Twinkie if the world really did end? Think Tallahassee and Zombieland. So basically, what would be your guilty pleasure? The world ends, you're still going to want it. I would have to think probably like Coca-Cola. As much as I try to quit soda, I love it. So probably that. Maybe green chili, because I love green chili. I put that on everything that I cook. What about you, Cuervo?
I would have to go with crushed pepper.
Crushed pepper.
And if it's possible, maybe an MP3 player, a portable music player. Can't live without the jams.
True.
And maybe my guitar, if it survives, but yeah.
Alright. So those are our answers. And it's thundering, so hopefully we get some rain. Okay, now this question comes from Johnny H. Pay, and he asks, which video was the most challenging to make and why? Was it the most or least fun to make? The hardest video that I ever had to do was the Operation Survival Stories. For some of you newer viewers that may not have heard of that, it was this little movie basically that we made about 3 years ago. We had to get, it was a contest with several channels, and we had to get a friend and they were going to play a character. It was a fictional story, and they had to survive basically and show survival skills and show certain gear. And I wrote the script, you know, I had costumes and everything. It was really fun, and I'm very proud of the end result, but in the meantime, it was difficult. One, working with people is difficult because we live in different parts of town. We all have different schedules when it comes to work or school and stuff, so just having the same day was difficult. And then the weather came into play. A lot of our things were breaking. Our gimbal broke, our tripod broke, our microphone broke. Oh man, it was difficult. We needed extras to play certain characters like bad guys, and those people would just flake on us without telling us. Yeah, Cuervo was writing the music for the soundtrack for that movie, and he's in Houston, so you know it's a lot harder to communicate artistically, different songs and stuff like that, through text and stuff. We still managed to do it, and the track was great, and overall I'm very proud of what we did. But when sometimes, people ask us, how come you don't do, fictional movies like that anymore? It's because they are a nightmare. They're a nightmare of dealing with elements, with working with other people, all kinds of stuff. But I'm still very proud of it, but it was just a nightmare to film. Okay, folks, so it's starting to rain now, finally. Hopefully that doesn't affect audio too much, but anyway. Let's move on. So Mr. Troy Jenkins asks, for both of you, if you could live in any period of the past, what would it be and why? I know nobody's going to be surprised at this, but the Wild West, the Western era for me has to be, I would love to live in that time. And it's not just because, it was cool and I like the movies. I just think it was that perfect balance for humanity where we were advanced enough. We weren't cavemen anymore. We had machinery. We had firearms, all this stuff. The railroad came around. However, you still had to have grit. You still had to be resourceful, and, you had to live off the land, and you had to know your environment, as opposed to now where we are just pampered by technology so much that, most of us would die in 2 days, in the wilderness. And, yeah, so I think it was just that perfect time where technology was advancing. We weren't, just complete nomads or whatever, but you still had to, provide for yourself and provide for your family, and I think that's sorely missing nowadays. Anyway, what about yourself?
It would have to be the same, the Western days. Mostly for cultural reasons, I think. And I guess the 60s would be another timeline I'd like to
Oh
live
yeah,
in.
the 60s.
A change for music, for folk, metal, rock and roll. There's a lot of
The civil rights movement. I mean, just to go back in time and like witness like Bob Dylan performing live. I mean, I think that would be incredible. Yeah, a lot of changes in the 60s. Very radical times. Really fun stuff. Oh, and by the way, Troy Jenkins, thank you so much. A big shout out to Troy Jenkins and his lady. They sent us some cool stuff, some cool pouches and stuff you'll see in our next week's video. So we're very grateful, brother. Thank you, and I hope you're enjoying your bandana. This question comes from Brian Mosco. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Brian. He asked, what is your dream location to camp and get your boots dirty? Hope all is well. I would love to practice bushcraft skills and hunting and all that like in a jungle. Like my dream would be Costa Rica. You know, just a lot of palm fronds and you know, there's fruits, you know, from the trees, and there's a lot of like you know, piranhas or whatever in the water. I think that would be really cool. I know that of course it'd be really muggy and a lot of bugs and stuff, but I've never been into a jungle before. Ever since I was a kid and I saw Jurassic Park, I've wanted to experience that. Maybe if not Costa Rica, then maybe like the swamps of Louisiana. I think that'd be cool as well. Yeah, you know, just dual survival out there, you know, making a little fire, a little shelter, cooking up some grub. What about you?
Well, it'd have to be between New Mexico, since I love the tranquility and peace out there, and Colorado. Not anywhere specific, just because it seems more wild up there.
Would you say like Colorado during summer or winter?
I would say winter.
Winter, the snow and stuff? Yeah, that'd be cool. We'll get there soon once this COVID nonsense is over. Okay, the next question comes from Inertial Soup 9. He asks, or she asks, I'm not certain. How did you get into bushcraft? What were your inspirations for doing so, and what simple or profound life lessons have you learned from that have affected you in other areas of your life that you find important for modern living? That's one loaded question right there. Well, first things first, guys, that's going to be way too long for me to answer here. In fact, I have a video called Junkyard Box Origins, and I'll put it up here. Or up there, I'm not sure, where it's a good 12-minute video where I talk about how I got into this and my inspirations and all that. So check out that video. For now, just to kind of compress it, is when we were young teenagers, a video game came out called Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater. And I love that game. I still remember I borrowed your copy because I didn't have a PlayStation at the time. So I borrowed it and I played it and we loved it. So basically you're like the soldier during the 60s. But yeah, you were behind an enemy line, so you're like hunting to survive, and you would get sick. You would lose your stamina if you weren't eating, or if you ate something that was rotten. So that got me into that, and then later dual survival. Now, other than that, and how I've been impacted from bushcraft to like my regular life, I would say I'm far more resourceful now, and I'm far less wasteful. So, for example, you know, before I got into bushcraft, you know, trees were trees, man. You know, rocks were rocks. They were, you know, so simplified. And now I know, hey, that's a pine tree. And I know the uses of, you know, pine pitch and pine needle tea, so on. I can go over here and be like, hey, that's a mesquite tree. And this has its uses. That's a yucca plant. I can make soap from the roots. You know, so all of a sudden, my eyes are far more opened to the natural world around me. Just seeing rocks when I'm hiking, and I can tell right away, like, that's flint. I can start a fire with that. So it's definitely taught me to be more resourceful, and I feel more in tune with the earth, if that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. So the next question comes from Burton. He asks, Junkyard Fox, if you are given the opportunity, is there any place or location that you would really want to spend the night? And Cuervo, let's say magic exists. What kind of instrument do you really want to master just by flicking your finger? Well, like I said earlier, you know, I would love a tropical island kind of place, a jungle. So Costa Rica, Hawaii, that kind of place I would love to try. As for the musical instrument,
it would have to be a Swedish instrument called the nickel harpa, which is a mix of like a keyboard and a violin. And yeah, it's pretty. It's haunting. It's beautiful, and it's complex. And I kind of like that stuff.
I've never even heard of that. Great question. Alan Lopez asks, what is your favorite dish that you made when making survival videos? Man, there's a lot of them. We've eaten really good since this journey began. Now, I'm assuming she's talking survival videos, not like camp cooking, right? Not like car camping. So I'll try to kind of narrow it down to that. I would have to say probably when we did the Adventure Craft knife review a couple months back. Hope you guys saw that. We caught several bluegill and a trout, and we just roasted them over a fire, and then we made some kebabs with some veggies, and then with a cold beer after all day sweating while fishing and all that. Man, favorite delicious food, you know. You can travel to the most expensive seafood restaurant in the world, a 5-star restaurant, and I don't think it could beat the adventure and, you know, of catching these fish, you know, and then processing it and then putting them over the flames. So that's my favorite. How about yourself?
For wild game, I would have to say quail is my favorite.
Yeah,
or has been our favorite. And it would have to be green chili hot dogs. The spur of the moment, I think, was more my favorite thing, but how we made them. But to this day, I still make them.
Yeah.
They're really good.
Yeah, they were pretty good.
That's it.
This question comes from Reno Man 89502, and he asks, guided overnighters for paying customers? Would love to do that. I live in Northern California and know nothing of desert survival. Would be cool. And that's a pretty cool idea. I never thought of that. Now, for the last 2 years, we kind of discussed, you know, us having classes. Like, we charge a certain amount. We take, say, 4 or 5 students out at a time for like a 2-hour seminar. You know, we talk about different plants in the environment, make a fire, boil water, hollow out a cactus container, you know, so on and so forth. But then COVID came and put a stop to all of that. And you know, a guided overnighter, you know, that could be pretty cool too. As of right now, I'm still trying to figure out the legality of it all because I don't know. I guess I'm just a little self-conscious or, you know, intimidated. Like, what if I take somebody out there and while we're all sleeping, they get up to go pee or something, and they get bitten by a rattlesnake or something, and, you know, then I feel like, am I responsible? So on and so forth. So I'm a little bit intimidated by that, but once I figure that out and all this COVID nonsense is over, I think that would be pretty cool. Okay, guys, so we're down to our last 2 questions. Now, I do apologize if audio is a little wonky, wind is picking up, so there's only so much we can do about that. So Karina 819, she asks, where is the next place you would like to camp at? An underrated tip for camping. As boring as it sounds, the next place I want to camp at in my camping spot is New Mexico. I love New Mexico. It is a land of magnificent beauty, and it's not far from us, so it's convenient. However, with all this, you know, COVID stuff, they are not letting, you know, non-residents camp there, so we're not allowed there to camp, and we got to respect their decision. I see a lot of people that are just ignoring that and going. I think that's so irresponsible and rude, so we just got to be patient. As for an underrated tip for camping, pee before you go to bed. Pee before you go to bed so you can get a good night's sleep. Also, because we're beer drinkers, so guess what? We're drinking, we get tipsy around the campfire, then we go to our tents, and guess what? At 3 in the morning, you gotta go. And, you know, sometimes, you know, one, you gotta put your boots on and all that, and then sometimes outside it's winter and it's cold and it's snowing or whatever, you know, and you let all your heat out and all that. So pee before you go to bed. How about yourself?
The place I'd like to go to is the Jemez Mountains.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful place. And Mesa, Arizona, if Shane will have us again. For my tip, it would have to be bring wipes. And carry something sweet, just to give you a little boost during the day. It helps out a lot. And that's it.
Yeah, there we go. Great questions. And final question coming from Ricky Valens 86. Cuervo, where does the inspiration come from for your iconic sound and outdoor style?
Well, for the sounds, inspiration comes from a lot of things, to be honest. From pictures to sounds to the coyotes in the night, even to the sounds of winds running through the trees in the New Mexico mountains. I can't say particular from where it comes from. I mean, it's in a sense I'm just the vehicle that moves these sounds and creates the supernatural to it. It just comes naturally, I guess you can say. And for style, it's just from experience, from being outdoors. I mean, honestly, I consider myself more of a music man before an outdoors person. I love the outdoors, but the music, they go kind of hand in hand in the same sense. And that's it. I mean, a lot of the inspiration comes from, it sounds weird, but they come from dreams sometimes too. And just go with the flow. Sometimes you just gotta let it come to you, or let it find you before you start looking for it, because that's how it kind of leaves your grasp sometimes. You can't force something that's not naturally there, you know. And that's it.
Alright guys, so that's about the conclusion of this video. I hope this got to know us a little bit more, you know, for those of you who are interested in that. And we're taking it easy. I know it's a very easy video, but the reason why we did this is because what we're working on currently requires drying a certain wild edible. So you need to let it dry. So in the meantime, we gave you this. You guys asked these questions quite some time ago. So if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give us a thumbs up. If you have any comments or you still have any questions, go ahead and write them on down below. And that's about it for us, guys. So I hope you guys are being safe out there. I hope you guys are enjoying your summer. And we'll see you guys next week with another video. Now go outside and get your boots dirty. Ooh, that is one hot beer.